Hey, it's Michael with GLG America, and in this video I'm going to talk about life insurance product knowledge. In fact, this is one of the first steps that I took in building my ordinary life insurance practice profit center from scratch. Was I went in, I looked at the products that I wanted to offer and how those things worked. So let's talk about kind of the steps I took to give you a clearer picture of exactly what the processes that I went through to kind of make sure I knew what it is that I was selling before I went out. Now, when I first started in the life insurance business, I was kind of overwhelmed because I had a lot of pressure to get out and see people, and that was greater than the pressure to learn the products. And even though I was like, well, I got to know what I'm selling here before I go out and talk to anybody. They're like, just get out there, and the way they handled this is they had somebody come out with you to kind of help you learn the ropes. And it wasn't until things settled down a little bit that I was able to kind of sit down and reflect a little bit and read through the stuff that I probably needed to know before I went out to begin with. So the first thing I did is the company that I'm working with, they have like an online hub that has all their stuff in it. So I went in there and I did my own research. And I already knew a lot about the company, but I found some materials that supported the company, its history and its investment rating and that kind of stuff. And then one of the things that I found in there was this list of products that they had that they allow their agents to offer. So this was very helpful because then I can go through and go, okay, these are the products that are available and what I had to choose from, and then I could cross some off and not others. And then I honed in on two specific product lines, term and whole life. I didn't want to do any universal life or variable life or anything like that. And those things don't interest me because I really want things that people can easily understand and know and count on that they're always going to stay the same. So I honed in on those two particular products. Now, once I did that, then I went in and I looked at what kind of sales material was available to use with the public and also for my own use. And you're going to find out that every insurance company you work with, they're going to say, oh, well, these are for agent use only and this is for use with the public. It's important to stay in compliance with those rules. So always pay attention to stuff and see if it says for agent use only. You don't want to use that with the public. So after I looked through kind of the flyers that were available both on those sides, then I looked at the bulletins and sales notices that the company sends out. And after a period of time, you'll get accustomed to getting these from the insurance companies you work with because they'll say, hey, this is going on in your state and you need to be aware of it. This feature is a little bit different now going forward. The rates have changed, that kind of thing. And so you're going to need to kind of keep on top of that stuff as you go along as you see those things come through. So after kind of, looking at those two things, then I actually requested a policy specimen. And the policy specimen, to me, is the most important item of all of them because I could actually go in there and read the language of how the product works. Because a lot of times there's stuff in there that's not really listed in the sales material because it's not a huge component of what they're trying to do from a sales point of view. But I know my mom, she had a policy that she had for years, and when she turned 65, they raised her premium because her values in her policy weren't high enough. Something she never knew they would do until it actually happened, but it was in the policy, just no one saw it until later. In fact, I had somebody else the other day, they had a policy that during the first 2 years, it didn't pay any death benefit. And that's something that it's kind of important to know. And so these are the things that you'll learn by looking at the policy itself, because you can read the language. And it's kind of a daunting task if you've never read through them, but after a while you kind of get used to reading through them and understanding what the language is. And a lot of times with these policy specimens too, they'll include the specific riders that can go on those policies and the language that's in them too. So you can find out exclusions for like accidental death benefit, or you can find out if there's a pre-existing condition clause on a waiver of premium, for example. And that's the kind of thing that you'd want to look for. And the other thing is you want to make sure you can use specific riders with certain policies because not all of them are possible. Now, after I looked at the policy specimen, then I kind of requested some illustrations. And illustrations are tools you can use to understand how the policies work. And it's what you'll use with the public when you sell to them. And so you need to kind of understand how these illustrations work. So I just ordered them on myself. And then that way I could look at the values and go, okay, this is how this thing works. And I could read through all the language in the illustration. Something you're going to want to do, because you'll always have people who read that stuff and go, hey, what does this mean? Can you explain this to me? I was sitting there reading that and I didn't quite get it. And a policy illustration is an important tool, one that you want to hang on to even after the sale, so you can refer back to it later and go, this is what we talked about. Remember, this is how this works. The other thing that you want to look at are specific riders that you can attach and the sales material with those. And, even though they're in the policy specimen, they may have their own set of sales material that you can use in addition to that. Now, once you kind of have an overview of how these things work and a clear kind of foundation, then you're going to need to understand, all right, well, once somebody decides they want to buy something, what do I got to do then? Well, you got to take an application. And a lot of times these things are state specific, only can be used in your state. And same thing with the sales material. So whenever you look at any of this stuff, you want to make sure that it's all applies to the state that you're working in. And you need to know the application, the paperwork that's required to be submitted. Then I looked at the underwriting requirements. Well, what am I going to have to have done? Are they going to have to just fill out the medical questions? Are they going to have to get doctor's records? Are they going to have somebody come out and take blood and urine? And at what amounts and ages do they do kind of, that stuff? And so I found a whole section on underwriting requirements and the things that they wanted to know. And I even took it a step further and I called my underwriter and asked some questions of them. So always keep in mind, you can always call the insurance company too about anything that you have a question about, or the person that is training you to find out. Just one thing I want to caution you on is always remember that as good as people are sometimes they don't always say things accurately. So you always want to make sure that whenever you're told anything, that you kind of verify it with the material that you have. Because sometimes, I know I had a guy tell me something one time, and I believed him, and for years I said this is the way it works, and then eventually I got to looking at the material and I go, this doesn't jive with what he said. So you want to make sure that you have an understanding of how that works. So getting this base of product information down will help you a ton, because it helps you with the sale, it helps you understand what people are buying, and then it helps you understand the application process and how to go through underwriting and how to actually get a policy. And those are the things you're going to need to know before you go out and actually sell a policy. And so that's kind of how I did it. If you have any questions about how to go through that process, put them in the comments below. And if you want to follow along with this series as I build these 3 profit centers, and this is the ordinary profit center that we're talking about, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll do the best I can to kind of help you understand what I'm working on. So until the next time, I'll see you in the next lesson.